Welcome into another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, real_G Warner, on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. And this will be the Europa League, Europa Conference League final match day episode. We'll have a best bet end of show, an ultimate best bet. I'm going to go through the permutations, everything that's possible, it seems. And we'll see how that all comes out because there's a lot to judge. It is super late, maybe the latest late night with the real_G Warner. But thank you for tuning in. If you're live, I appreciate that on Twitter. If you're on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, leave a 5-star review. Huge for the search rankings. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. I've had a bunch of new subscribers there. I appreciate that more than you know. That momentum's great. I don't know exactly how YouTube handles that, but I appreciate that big time. We're now up to 81 subscribers, only a million more to go until this is a viable career for myself. So we've got a ways to go there, I guess. But thank you to Matthew Stacey, if I'm pronouncing that right, Eustace, maybe, David Powell, Alex Elzalde. Appreciate you all. Prince Dennis Antwi, if I have a Prince subscribing as well, thank you there. And then I might as well shout out the Spotify subscribers on the next podcast because I don't know how to get them in front of me at the moment, and I don't know how much people care. But thank you to all you on YouTube. Appreciate that. If you're not a member yet of BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag, check out their podcast. Check out the podcast description. There are links to potentially make you some money, save you some money, do all that sort of stuff because that's what we're about here. So let's get into the Europa League. I'm going to be more aggressive, specific, more in depth there, but I'm going to try to give the Conference League as much as I can, considering the advanced hour that I'm recording this is it's 12:39 and we're not even into a first game yet. But we're going to give the same love because the money is still, it counts the same as it does in Champions League. So let's start with Panathinaikos. They're hosting Maccabi Haifa. That is a Thursday early window matchup in Europa League. Let's find the Panathinaikos group. Bet them in their last matchup, and unfortunately, their defense was not capable. And the loss they took to Rennes took them out of any sort of race for that second spot. But the third place finishers in Europa League do drop down to the Europa Conference League. So it doesn't matter to finish third, and Panathinaikos are 2 points ahead of Maccabi Haifa for that last spot. Now, Panathinaikos are at home. They're a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Might climb to 1 by the time this kicks off. Over/under is 2.5, juice a little bit to under. And I think that might be all I want to say about that one. I also think it's interesting that Rennes and Villarreal are playing later in the same window, I guess. They're just nowhere near in the rotation order at BetOnline, where I'm quoting these lines from. Like I mentioned, there's a promo code for 50% match bonus for first-time depositors. Probably, I think that's better than you can get at BetOnline. So check that out. There's the link in the podcast description below. Always good to have as many outs as possible. So I'll go through. I think I'll just go group by group. It's probably easier that way. Ren a quarter goal favorite right now with all the juice. Over unders 2.5, juice to the over a little bit. Ren at home, they missed a penalty kick when Martin Terrier, who was off a long injury absence, came on to take a penalty. I think in stoppage time, last kick of the match, it was saved or it was missed. One of those two. Brutal loss for Ren, their backers, like yours truly. Should have been a draw, and that would have essentially clinched this for Ren. But instead, they're only 2 points up. They're on 12 points. And if Villarreal win, I guess they take the group. If this is a draw or a Ren win, then they hold on to first place. So neither team have been playing great this year. Ren has moved on for their manager. It was kind of weird to me. They haven't been that bad in Liga and clearly are in first place in the Europa League, but that was enough for Bruno Genesio, who I think was pretty potentially concerned or disappointed with the transfer window and how they sold a lot of their young talent. Though I don't know that for sure. Villarreal on their side, they're on their third manager of the season. They've been playing very defensively under their very conservative, as a lot of the ESPN broadcaster Alex Pereira seems to say about Villarreal, is that they've got a very good conservative manager, which is really not a fit for a very aggressive offensive team. I don't think they know what they're doing, but they, I guess, are getting some results, but not good ones. So I don't think any of that's working. Therefore, I'm not really interested in Villarreal getting a quarter of a goal. Doesn't really do a lot for me there. They certainly need to win. And Ren, so I guess in terms of Villarreal need a win, so they're pushing forward to try to get that victory. They have no jeopardy to finish in third, so they go all out for the win. Maybe this whole time, though they're a very conservative team. That doesn't really jive perfectly. I'll admit that. From a betting standpoint, since that's what we're doing on this podcast, it is called Betting the Pitch. For good reason, hopefully. I think I'm looking to try to play this under, just based on new manager, who I don't know a ton about at this point, and we'll see about the more. I felt like Ren were pretty fortunate this past weekend to get a victory. I think that happened. Ren FC. Let's make sure I said that right. But nope, they lost, excuse me, on Saturday to Monaco at home. Not a great start for a new guy. And then let's see in terms of their form table. Loss at home to Monaco, not great as a pick 'em. I think a little bit. Yeah, I think it was pretty much even both ways. Lost at home to Marseille, won at Maccabi Haifa 3-0 in Europa League, but that was the bottom of the group. And won against Rems in their last matchup with a loss sprinkled in there before that at home to Lyon. So you could say that the form has not been very good, considering Lyon were bottom of the league on table entering last weekend, and maybe is part of why Genesio moved on. Anyway, so for this, I guess, group, my biggest interest here is in that Villarreal under 2.5. I don't love the idea that they're going to be pushing for a victory. Though if they do take a lead, I expect them to sit on it as much as they can, because they're probably going to sit on matches, sit in every game until something changes, until Marcelino is removed from his position. Roma then hosts Sheriff Tiraspol. Currently, Roma a 2-goal favorite at home, with more juice than Sheriff Tiraspol on the road. Over under 3, juice to under. I expect Lukaku plays. I think he got a red card this weekend. I do not expect Dybala will be back, because he got hurt, as he always seems to. In terms of the group here, as the odds, I can feel them coming. Unfortunately, it's late, and I'm fighting it, but I'm doing it for y'all. Okay, so I guess I'll go through the group now. Slavia Prague on 12 points, Roma on 10. So Roma need a victory to take that back. Though Slavia Prague are playing Servette, who are aside from Geneva, Switzerland, and are on 5 points, sitting third. Roma get that last place Sheriff on only one single point. It looks like a Roma win is probably likely, 2-goal favorites and at home. Don't know that I really want to get involved with an under here, since Roma have to go for a win. Sheriff Tiraspol have given up 14 goals in only 5 matches. That is basically on average to give up a push on this total themselves. So that's not great, because if Sheriff score anything, I don't expect them to. Only 5 goals in 5 matches, but that's still 1 goal per match. I don't know what Sheriff is playing for. We do know that Roma is playing for something. And since I have the live schedule in front of me, Roma do go to Bologna this weekend, which is a pretty big higher end of the Serie A table match. So I don't know. They're going to go for a win and try to win it early, and try to probably get ahead as quickly as possible. We'll ultimately see if that ends up happening. But Slavia Prague are a 1.5-goal favorite to Servette. On the other side, they're very juiced Servette side. But they have nothing to play for, since they're already dropping down to the Europa Conference League and have no jeopardy there. Total is 2.75, juiced to over slightly, a little bit, 5 cents, 10-cent spread. Unfortunately, this is going to be a lot of yawns. So swear it's not you boring me, you, the collective. I think Slavia Prague, I mean, I went to the match at Roma, didn't really do much. They fought fairly hard, lost 2-0, and then had a big turnaround and won at home, which the marketplace was definitely showing as tipping their hand, as that was likely to happen. I think Roma probably finished runner-up in this, and then have to face, I think, a Champions League drop down third place side, which is not great. They get to avoid the Italian clubs that finished third, I think, as the rules state. But that's still not great, and that's probably why Rome is trying to win this competition. It's the easiest way to get into to Champions League, maybe. I still think it's Syria finishing fourth or maybe fifth, but and with Champions League changes, who knows what's coming next year? But I guess I've already spent too long on this one, so I'll move to the next. Bayer Leverkusen, they are hosting Molde from I think Norway, maybe. They're currently a goal and a half favorite, slightly more juice at home. Over unders 3.25, juice to over slightly. And they are, I think, unbeaten in every competition. So they are perfect so far start this year. More yawns, yay. Sorry if that list sounds terrible to everyone. I'm trying not to do it, but clearly it's past my bedtime. So Leverkusen, perfect in Europa League, 5 straight wins, perfect in all competitions, unbeaten this year. They're on 15, Karabag on 7, Molde on 7, and Haken on 0. So it seems to be a big battle between Karabag and Molde. Molde pretty lucky that they haven't played Leverkusen until they're probably playing a very rotated side, especially if they're only a goal and a half favorites at home. Karabag on their side are a goal and a half favorite to Haken, which looks like should be a fairly decent victory. They're on 0 points, are negative 13 goal differential, and have scored 2 goals in 5 matches. What would make me nervous if Molde are trying to throw everything forward to win this match, to stay in Europa League instead of dropping down to the Europa Conference League. Big scoreline could happen here. I don't know if I want to play Molde getting 1.5. I don't really want to play them. If I don't like the road dog, I think the under 3.25 against the best team in Germany does not seem like a great idea. And I have no interest in backing Haken either. Moving next to Lask Linz, and they're hosting Toulouse. Currently Lask a quarter goal favorite at home, a little bit more juice on Toulouse, the French side on the road. Over under is 2.5, and this is juice to over very heavily. You might see 2.75. Toulouse, they are currently on 8 points, second in the group behind Liverpool on 12. Liverpool cannot be caught, and that's probably why Union Saint-Gilloise are a quarter goal favorite at home to Liverpool. Liverpool, I think we're a very slight favorite on the road to Toulouse and lost that matchup way back when, 2 match days ago. But they are safe. They are in the Europa League. They have gotten their bye to face the winner of some sort of drop down matchup of a third place Champions League team and a second place in their group finisher. Now, Union Saint-Gilloise, they could potentially catch Toulouse as they are on 5 points if they win and Toulouse lose to Lask Linz. That would be helpful, though. Toulouse are playing the worst side in the group. Lask are trying to win this match as well to try to get above Union Saint-Gilloise. They could jump them if Union Saint-Gilloise lose at home to Liverpool. They could get that third seed or third place and then drop to the Conference League. At least I think that's how it works. Hopefully I'm right. From Union Saint-Gilloise point of view, they drew Toulouse in the first match day. So a victory here would be enough for Union Saint-Gilloise probably to jump Toulouse. Toulouse are coming in on a really bad run. Losing to Lyon, I think their first win of the French season. Former Giant that were at the bottom gave up a hat trick, I think, of all set piece goals, potentially 2 off of corner kicks to Alexander Lacazette, formerly of Arsenal fame, and have really struggled balancing 2 competitions. I do like them as an underdog here, though, against the worst team in the group. Though there's a lot of questions. Toulouse had some issues with their striker and their manager, who was the assistant from last season after the head coach manager decided to leave, despite winning the Coupe de France. So that makes me think that there's some turmoil, strife, whatever you want to call it. And then their striker didn't start for a while after he made some comments and then came on and gave a very lame penalty at the end of the first half at Lyon, which could have cut a 2-0 deficit to 2-1 and potentially gave his side a chance. They're fighting relegation in France. I don't really know what their goals are here in Europa League. Probably is still to keep going this competition. The extra money is good. It could that extra money maybe could buy a couple players potentially in the January window that they definitely need. Toulouse are a side I've been wanting to be against for all season. I don't think I've made enough money doing that so far. And it's a little weird because I did back them this weekend, and now I actually want to back them on the road against Lask Linz. They should be pretty motivated after a pretty poor performance in League and they want to hang on to the second place position. And they're in pretty good shape. That Liverpool, one of the best clubs in Europe, biggest clubs in Europe, could potentially do a big favor for them, even with their backups against Union Saint-Gilloise. So Liverpool probably are more focused on this weekend with Manchester United in a derby. I don't know if that's enough to make them a reasonable underdog, though. Liverpool's defense has been questionable, and they're not going to be playing their best. I think that's fairly clear. So that makes me think that Union Saint-Gilloise maybe are a little bit more deserving of a favorite, but I'm still not sure I would make it them one. They were great in Europe last year in this competition, but they sold off a ton of great players, including Boniface to Bayer Leverkusen, and then Daman, I believe, to actually Daman. I don't know. I don't want to list all these players. I could be wrong, but anyway, I like both road dogs in this group. I think. Las Glins are going for it, trying to win here. Toulouse, if they draw, they move through. So they're probably defending, going on the road to defend. I like that idea to a certain extent, though, of course, they could win and that'd be much better. I think as this number keeps climbing, I like 2 3/4 much better than 2.5, obviously, with that push, or at least half your bet pushes on if it lands 3. But I also like the Liverpool side. It is very dependent on who they're playing, and so that will have to wait. And I guess the total kind of goes along with that lineup as well. I don't know, because if you like under, that means Liverpool are probably not playing a lot of their best players, but they're not playing their defenders either. So that's a little bit more questionable. And now we'll move to the nightcap, or the night window, or the night later in the night window. Later window is probably the best way to put it. And we'll start with Brighton, and they're hosting Marseille. I'll just go with the group standings at this point and try to make that as easy as possible. It looks like this is Group B. Marseille on 11 points, Brighton on 10, then AEK Athens on 4, and Ajax somehow on 2. Pretty big names in this group. Very difficult group compared to some others, but I guess that is all how the frozen balls that you know which ones to pick work. Just kidding. UEFA would never, ever, ever be as fraudulent as, or bribed or rigged as their FIFA brethren. Anyway, so here we got Brighton hosting Marseille. They're 1 goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Marseille right now. Over under is 3.25. It is juiced very heavily to under. In this first matchup, it looks like I don't know why that. Okay, so this doesn't really make sense because I would have expected them to have played the first time, Brighton and Marseille, but they have different results. So I can't explain and tell you what exactly happened based on Google is messing me up. But regardless, Brighton, a 1 goal favorite. They've been struggling to balance multiple competitions. I'm looking to back Marseille as I think they've been coming around and playing a lot better, both in Liga in France, and they're also leading this group right now. I feel like the Europa League is probably a much better position for Marseille, especially if they can't win the Champions League playoffs, even against inferior clubs or inferior sides, smaller clubs that have lower budgets. Brighton are not one of those, though. And so that's a big question on how Marseille will perform, and really the strategy that Gattuso wants to use from Marseille. Brighton's going to attack all the time. There is certainly some knowledge from these two managers formerly in Serie A at the same time. I believe Gattuso at Napoli and De Zerbi at Sassuolo. I think they overlapped, if I remember correctly. It's late at night, so give me a break if I did that wrong. But the total is really high, above 3, gigantic, ginormous to me. Brighton don't really defend at all. They're just trying to defend by attacking and trying to outscore everyone. I think it's going to be Marseille, who are not exactly the pragmatic defensive side always. So it's a little bit weird seeing them as the defensive side. But I like getting a full goal of insurance from a Brighton side that I don't think is great. In terms of the standings here, if Marseille are able to draw, Marseille, so like I'm from Dallas, which I guess I live there now. But if Marseille want to, if they draw here, they win. They move, or they win the group. Win clearly wins a group. Brighton will need to win, and I don't know necessarily that I really fully trust them to do that. And a single goal win, they win the group, are celebrating at the end, maybe in defensive type of formation. Marseille would potentially send a lot through, and will be trying to get that draw late. But that's not a huge, like it did unfortunately bite me in Sevilla, which was a dead under, but 2 second half penalties late in the match, and then a 96-minute stoppage time goal was pretty brutal. But that'll happen, unfortunately. And Unfortunately, I got to take those a lot because there's also another one at the end of the last kick of the match in France where I lost an under and a side. So I'm trying not to have as many of those happen, but I guess that's the nature of the business. So they may. Like Marseille, like under 3.25. The other one in this group is IEK Athens. They're on the road at Ajax. Ajax currently a half a goal favorite with more juice. Over under is 3, more juice to under. Um, Ajax need to win here. AK Athens are pretty decent squad with a lot of big names from probably beyond their past their prime across Europe. I think I like the half of a goal that AK Athens are getting here. I'm not sure I like under 3 as much. I do like the push on 3. But there's not been a lot of defense in Ajax matches so far. 19 goals scored in their 5 matches so far, almost averaging 4 a match. That's a monstrous number. 23 though in Marseille matches, somehow only 14 in Brighton, so that's a little bit weird. But I think I'll have to dive into that a little bit deeper, not live on camera. Moving next to Aris Limassol, and they're hosting Sparta Prague. This is a very interesting group, or much closer with smaller name teams, because I don't think you can get bigger than that last one. But Real Betis, they're on 9 points leading the group. Rangers on 8, Sparta Prague on 7, and RS Limassol on 4. So RS Limassol, if they win this matchup, they could catch Sparta Prague. And Sparta Prague want to win the group or potentially get second place. And if they get 3 points, then they should be able to do that. Currently, RS Limassol a 3/4 goal underdog at home. 0.75 was where I was going with that. Very juiced right now. Might fall to a half. Over under is 3, just a little bit to under. Sparta Prague, I bet their last match. I won thanks to maybe more thankfully to Real Betis just not being able to score going on the road and not really putting out their best lineup. But Manuel Pellegrini has been doing that a lot. And so I guess I'll jump to that Betis match. They're currently half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over is 2 3/4. Juice very heavily to under. My biggest interest here is to continue Real Betis betting Real Betis unders. They're not a great defensive team, but they've been struggling to score and have been defending fairly well, considering because usually if your offense isn't playing well, defense sometimes goes bad. And Rangers, I mean, seeing only 9 goals in their 5 matches, averaging less than 2. It's a pretty low scoring group. Real Betis on only 11, 12 from Sparta Prague, and actually 16 from RS Limassol. So that's probably due to a leaky defense. 10 goals in 5 matches allowed. Almost doubling everyone else in the group, pretty much, or actually the combination of the other 3 teams is 14. So Limassol's defense we can probably question. For that, I guess that makes me feel like Sparta Prague are in a good position to put a lot of pressure on both Rangers and Betis. If they jump to 10 points with a win on the road at RS Limassol, then Rangers and Betis know they have to do something, and a draw would get Betis through, but would not win the group, and that would mean playoff, and that would be difficult just to get into the Europa League knockouts, essentially, or they'll miss out on that bye. So that's not great. I think it's hard for me to get away from Real Betis, even at home with a big crowd. Rangers are going to go in there, probably bring a lot of fans to southern Spain as well. The hottest, I think, temperature city of mainland Europe. So I think they'll probably be on vacation, and it seems like the UK crowd moves pretty well. So that probably won't be easy for Betis. Might be some fights in the stands considering they threw a cigarette at me at the Benito Villamarín, but it was not lit, thankfully. Though maybe my heart and my soul and my body is cold enough to put out any cigarette, but we'll see. Don't think that happened in a Southside bathroom in New York City way back when. So unfortunately, I know cigarettes do burn my body. Anyway, that's a sidebar. Don't know how we got there, but it's late. I think my biggest interest here, I don't think I want to touch RS Limassol because they got something to fight for, and their defense has been so bad. But I think there's gonna be a lot of pressure put on by Sparta Prague. So Betis and Rangers playing at the same time simultaneously. I think I'm still interested more so. I don't think I want to play the side of Rangers, so I guess I like that a little bit. I think I'm going to go with the Rangers under 2 3/4. Very juiced at the moment. We'll see if I doubt we'll get a 3 tomorrow, unfortunately. Next, to go to West Ham and Freiburg. This is a huge match, literally for Group A. both of them on 12 points. Then we got Olympiacos and Bakatopola on 4 and 1. So I guess Bakatopola with a win could potentially cause some trauma for Olympiacos. That spread, Olympiacos at home in Athens or the Piraeus region. A goal and a half favorite with all the juice. Over under is 3 and is juiced slightly to over. I think that's one I want to skip because Bakatobla, Serbian side, have not really been anywhere near competent. So I'll skip that one, especially as a big underdog. But West Ham Freiburg is very interesting. So Freiburg have not been able to score goals. You might be able to see I'm wearing my Freiburg kit, as I figured it was appropriate as they have a big match day tomorrow. West Ham, a half a goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. West Ham have been scoring goals. Got embarrassed this weekend on the road at Fulham after taking a fairly undeserved victory on the road at Tottenham. Nice for them to get home for probably this match and also a Premier League match at home this weekend in England. So that'll be helpful. But we'll see how much was taken out of them from 2 straight road games. They've had some big mistakes in their defense. Anytime you see Mavropanos on the pitch, you probably want to say no wonder Arsenal sold them or sold him. Freiburg on the other side have not been able to score goals for a while. They scored a bunch in their last 2 matches against Olympiacos and Bakatopola, and have now scored 17 in this group stage, almost or more than doubling West Ham's 8 in only 5 matches. So that tells me that Freiburg, I mean, it's amazing how many goals they've scored because they don't score any in the Bundesliga. They're a great under team there. Stole a win, really stole their last 2 wins on the road at Mainz, and then I think on the road also against Wolfsburg this week, and got the nice advantage of playing them out off of 120 minutes in the DFB Pokal midweek, where Freiburg got the rest finally. I feel like the goal scoring of Freiburg I don't really trust. I am concerned by the Freiburg offense, but I'm also concerned by West Ham. They have not defended at all this season in the Premier League. It's only giving up 4 goals in 5 matches in this Europa League has been decent. I think Freiburg's young goalkeeper was a big reason why they lost this reverse fixture. I think it was 2-1 and was not a great feeling for underbackers like myself in that one. But Freiburg keeper has gotten better, has been seen. Well, he's gotten 2 clean sheets his last 2. There were some really scary days, and I was wondering when they would just eventually put in their backup goalkeeper, but they've been trying to baptize him by fire and get him on a level that they could use him for the future. I don't think it's a sell him type of situation with Atabolu, but Florian Müller has been a great goalkeeper that's he's always on the bench, and for some reason he's not played, from what I've seen, a minute this season, if I'm not mistaken. So got some questions there. I don't know if I want to back Freiburg going on the road to an English side because I feel like that's a not a great scenario for them. They're going to defend like heck though, so I really like under 2 3/4, and we might get 3 before the kicks off. So I'll be waiting for that. I'll put Freiburg a half a goal on my list just as a play against West Ham, but I think I'm more interested in that under 2 3/4 as we currently speak. Last but not least, the last group we'll talk about is Sporting Lisboa, Sturm Graz, Rakow Częstochowa, and Atalanta. That's Group D. Atalanta currently on 11 points. We're fortunate to draw Sporting CP from Lisboa, though they did get took a 1-0 lead, but Sporting equalized and then hit the inside the post, I think, 3 times after that. It was brutal for them not to win that one, and that would have certainly changed this group. Atalanta currently on 11 points, Sporting on 8, Sturm Graz on 4, and Rakow Częstochowa, they're on 4. So there is a battle for third, but no jeopardy for first or second. If Sporting win here, they need Atalanta to lose, and they had a draw with Atalanta last time out, and then the time they played before, I think Atalanta won. So that might pretty much mean Atalanta have clinched if it's based on head-to-head tiebreakers. Makes me wonder how much Sporting should be thrown out here. I mean, they're a 3/4 goal favorite to Sturm Graz, a little bit more juice over. There's 2 3/4 juice to under slightly. Sturm Graz, on the other hand, they're ahead of Rakow Częstochowa right now, so they have the tiebreaker according to Google. If that's trustworthy, we'll see. But they're both on 4 points, a slightly better goal differential. They're going to probably play to make this as competitive as possible. Obviously, a win would pretty much, I think, clinch them. a drop into the Conference League, which does matter for an Austrian side. And Rocco Cesua, who are big underdog just to get into this competition, they're probably really happy with what they've doing. They're a half a goal favorite at home to Atalanta. That is monstrous, and I'm really surprised. But Atalanta clearly are playing a youth team. Though it's a little bit more competitive than that because you can only register so many players for these European continental competitions. You can't just rip someone off your youth side and throw them in there unless they're previously registered. So that's probably the most bizarre number out there. Atalanta getting a half of a goal. I'll put that on my list. They haven't looked great to me, though they got a good win. I think they took the lead 3 times against Milan this weekend. Maybe this is a reward for their good play in that one to rest a lot of people. I'm very interested to see what that lineup looks like because ultimately that seems like a very, very different spread than I was expecting. So, for my best bet from the Europa League before we move on to the Europa Conference League, which I promise you will be a lot faster. It's tempting to go in a bunch of different directions here, but I think the Rangers under 2 3/4 is very interesting um because Betis have not been scoring at all, and there's some jeopardy for both those sides. So I'm gonna go with that one. I do feel like the Freiburg side might be a decent one as well. But ultimately, I think the under in a Real Betis match, especially after going under in a 1-1 draw with Real Madrid this weekend, I think it's one of those you ride the streak until it bucks you off. Hopefully that doesn't start tomorrow. So now we'll move from Europa League. I'll go with a Europa Conference League best bet. We'll do the ultimate best bet, cut it out, throw it on YouTube Shorts and on Instagram. So if you want shorter versions of this, feel free to follow those accounts. I hope you follow all of them. I know that's hard to follow and track where I am, but I promise you I'll put everything on Twitter. So that's a good follow there, the real_G Warner. So moving to Europa Conference League. I guess I'll go through groups here. Legia Warsaw, if I could find them. They're in Aston Villa's Group E. They're 3 points ahead of AZ, and they play them last match day of the year. Currently, Legia Warsaw, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice over under 2 3/4, just a little bit to under. I imagine the home team's going to be playing and fighting for this draw because AZ Alkmaar cannot pass them if that occurs. We'll probably lean under here, though. AZ Alkmaar from the Eredivisie are a much bigger name and should have a lot of talent. Aston Villa, they've I guess could be caught technically by Legia Warsaw. They're on 12 points, Legia Warsaw on 9, AZ Alkmaar on 6, and Drinsky on 3. Though Aston Villa coming off one of the best weeks, wins at home and clean sheets to Manchester City and also to Arsenal back to back in a short week. They should be resting a ton of people, but they're also goal-and-a-half favorite here with all the juice. So I would tend to look towards Rinitsky Monstar as or Mostar, not a Monstar. My bad, but they look like if you're ever looking for a spot type of play, I feel like that is one. Oh my gosh, it's like the perfect possible like letdown scenario, and you might be seeing a lot of backups from Aston Villa as well because I'm pretty sure they're okay with it. I mean, they don't want to play a second place playoff against the Champions League's third place finisher. But how can you not be confident after how well they performed in the Premier League last week? I don't know if I want under 3 there as well. I guess that does play along with even if Aston Villa win, they've been so dominant and have been keeping clean sheets. So maybe there's just some interest more for me. That Zrinski, maybe they perform and somehow steal a win, but more likely they score very little. And Aston Villa's backups don't score much either. Ferencváros then against Fiorentina. That'll be the next matchup to go to. Let me find that on my single screen, unfortunately, but we'll see where we're at. Okay, that is Group F as in Frank or in Fiorentina or Ferencváros, who are also in there from Budapest. Currently Fiorentina on 11 points, Ferencváros on 9, Genk on 6, and Kukuriki on 0. Ferencváros a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice to Fiorentina. Over under is 2 1/4, and juice is split both ways. So Ferencváros, they need a victory to jump over Fiorentina, and that would be enough for them to do it. Crowd will be nuts. Hungarian crowds are awesome. Love the Magyars. God, yeah. Awesome fans that I went to a match against Germany that they upset the Germans in Leipzig, which was awesome. Yeah, Hungar, yeah, that's a chant. It's late. past 1 o'clock here in Dallas. My bad, but thank you for tuning in. The real underscore G Warner on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. Uh, just throwing things out there, I guess. But this is a big matchup for Fiorentina. They've not been scoring very well. They've been controlling the ball very, very well, but not really resulting in a ton of good news, good jobs for them. We're unable to do much to tie a very weakened Milan side and then struggled this past weekend as well. I don't know really what to do with them. They're a road favorite, which I don't love. A draw is enough for Fiorentina to get through, and that's very interesting because if Ferencváros can't, if they get a draw, they will be moving on to and staying. Genk cannot catch them. They're 3 points behind. They're big favorite. Genk at 2.25 goal favorites is Kukuriki on 0 points so far this group stage. Over under there is 3.5, and it's just a little bit to under. But Genk should probably win that match. Ferencváros then need a draw to fend off Genk. And in terms of when they've played, it looks like they have maybe drawn both times. Looks like Genk have only lost once, and that was last match against Fiorentina because I bet that and their defense was horrible. I think Ferencváros, they're going to be trying to ride. They're undefeated, no losses. So I'm pretty interested, actually, the more I look into this. There's some pressure on Fiorentina. Maybe they play some of their better players, but they haven't looked great even doing that. So I like that quarter of a goal at home. I also like under 2.25 just because I think this is a match where both teams are happy with the draws. Fiorentina win the group. Ferencváros can't be caught. Ferencváros could win the group with a win here, but we'll see how much they want to risk, and could be one of those Austria, Germany just pass the ball to each other for 90 minutes. I don't think they would want to do that, but I think you see some conservative end to the match if it looks like it's going in that sort of direction where Genk are just dominating Kukuriki. Move next to the group with Eintracht Frankfurt in it, coming off a huge victory, 5-1 over Bayern Munchen. I don't know how they're going to respond to that because they've really been struggling and got knocked out on short rest for that victory was especially surprising, and also getting knocked out by a third tier Dreisliga squad who had previously knocked out Bayern Munchen. The stories write themselves apparently in this beautiful game as they call it. In the group, PAOK, they're on 13 points after beating Eintracht Frankfurt. Another bad loss of Frankfurt that was pretty unexpected. Aberdeen then on 3 and HJK on 2. So nothing really to play for here. Eintracht Frankfurt probably resting a lot, I would suspect. I would do it at least. Aberdeen trying to stay ahead of HJK. That's more of the bigger matchup. Aberdeen currently a 1-goal underdog at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. Despite a very expected to be rotated Frankfurt side, I think there's a huge gap in quality, though, of these two sides. Over under there is 3, juiced very heavily to under. I don't know if I trust Aberdeen defense enough, but it does feel like a big price considering the very unlikely scenario where Eintracht Frankfurt look good and look like they've done anything but party to celebrate their huge upset victory over Bayern Munchen. PAOK then hosts HAK Helsinki. PAOK a 1.5-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice to over. PAOK have nothing to play for here either. Surprise win of a Europa League group. Good for them. Undefeated, 4 wins, 1 draw so far. So they've been awesome. I don't really know what to do with this one other than HSK Helsinki. They need at least a draw to tie Aberdeen and a loss, but they probably need to go for a win, and that's going to be hard to do on the road in Greece, if I'm not mistaken. Fenerbahce, then Sparta Trnava. That is Group H, as in hockey stick. Hotel, I think, is probably the right way to say it. Nordsjælland lead the group on 10, Ludogorets on 9, Fenerbahce on 9, and Sparta Trnava on 1. So there's a lot at stake here as 3 teams could potentially win this group. Fenerbahce, I think, are very disappointed to be in 3rd position, but that's what happened when they lost to Nordsjælland last week, if I remember correctly, with a lot of line movement. I think it's Nordsjælland getting a lot of respect, then not getting respect, then getting respect towards the end. Would have been a bet that I was looking at, but I did not end up making it. And then all of a sudden, Nordsjælland were a favorite, so I missed that boat. Fenerbahce currently a 2.5-goal favorite at home to Sparta Trnava. Slight favorite there, juiced pretty heavily to under 3.5 in that one as well. Spartak don't look they're gonna do too much. So Fenerbahce, if they win, they get to 12 points. Nordsjælland are suddenly in second, and Ludogorets are in third and dropping down or dropping to nowhere because there's no drop down. So Ludogorets and Nordsjælland should be a battle. I think this is a blowout victory the first time they played. I believe that was Ludogorets that were dominating that one, if I remember correctly. I think so. I think I watched that one actually. It's a long time ago. Currently a pick'em though. Ludogorets were on the road, so I think Nordsjælland were the goal scorers in that one. Actually, now that I remember, because I feel like a road big domination result seems very unlikely and would have stuck out more in my mind. Anyway, Ludogorets currently pick 'em with all the juice right now. Over under is 2 3/4, juiced heavily to over. Nordsjælland have a really big name on their team from the Bundesliga who scored a ton of goals, Marcus Ingvartsen, but I don't know a ton more about that. Clearly, there's a lot of potential revenge here, and I wouldn't know. I mean, most of the time in American sport, you don't want to just back the big blowout winner the first time, especially if the line has them pick them. Though this is certainly respectful, saying that Nordsjælland would be favored on a neutral field. This is not neutral; it's at Ludogorets, so I don't know if I love that scenario. They'll be looking out to see if Nordsjælland move to an underdog. Currently, pick them getting odds right now at Bet Online. Moving to the night window or the later slate, we'll go to Lille. It's Group A. They're on 11 points. Slovan Bratislava on 10. Key Klazvik are on 4, and Olympia Ljubljana, I believe, from Slovenia are on 3. Lille, so they can't be caught. Slovan Bratislava can't be caught. Just the battle is for third place, but that doesn't matter. So really, this group doesn't mean anything besides the winner here. And Lille are a 2 1/4 goal favorite to key right now. Over under is 3. Lille with a pretty disappointing performance this weekend. I think they're one of the best teams in Liga, and I'm hoping to back that as much as I can. Slovan Bratislava 1 goal favorite to Olympia Ljubljana. A little bit more juice on the home team. Over under is 2 3/4, juice to under very heavily. Might see 2.5. It seems like the favorites should roll, so I don't really know that there's a lot that I want to do here. The fact is, though, both teams want to win this, so they want to win the group. Moving next to Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is very complicated, and I can't say I know too much about this, but Ghent are on 13 points, Tel Aviv on 12, Zorya Luhansk on 4, and Breidablik on 0. Let's see who gets to play Breidablik this week, and that is Zorya Luhansk. So it's Ghent against Maccabi Tel Aviv for the group. That's cool. Maccabi Tel Aviv currently a 1/4 goal underdog at home, but I can't imagine they're playing in Tel Aviv right now. Over under is 3, just very heavily to under. I think this is a very interesting matchup. So it looks like Maccabi Tel Aviv have not drawn any matches, and Ghent have not lost any. So Ghent must have beaten Tel Aviv. So, but draw here doesn't matter. It's really whoever can go win this one. So or a draw here is enough for Ghent to do their stuff and move on. For that reason, I'm still a little bit interested in Maccabi Tel Aviv, though I feel like they're missing. It's essentially a neutral field and doesn't look great that they lost that first matchup. I mean, certainly you could see Ghent celebrating with a draw, and that would pay Maccabi Tel Aviv backers, but I think there's a lot of questions about what's going on through any sort of club that's facing wartime right now. Moving next to Victoria Plzeň, I believe from the Czech Republic. They're on 15 points, have won all their matches. They're next is then Dinamo Zagreb on 6, Astana on 4, and Balkani on 4. So the champion is decided. It's really all about second place. Dinamo Zagreb get to play Balkani. They're currently in last position, I think, based on a tiebreaker with Astana. And Astana are unfortunately a 3/4 goal underdog on the road at Victoria Plzeň. All the juice on Victoria Plzeň might move to 1. We'll see how much they care because I would assume they're focused more on the Czech league. Over under is 2 3/4, juice heavily to under. So that's another question. As for the other matchup, Dinamo Zagreb, a 1 1/4 goal favorite at home. Juice a split. Over under is 2 3/4, juiced a little bit to under. I think if you probably want to be Astana here, because if they win, well, I guess you're playing the best team in the group. So I don't know if you really want that. But Victoria Plzeň, 6 goals for, 1 goal against us in 5 matches. That is pretty dominant defense there, and not a lot of offense with winning all your matches, scoring 1.2 goals per match. It's not bad. Tells me a lot about defense. So Astana are probably gonna. I mean, they're going to try to go for a win here. I don't really love that scenario for a team that's given up 10 goals in their 5 matches. That does not look great. So it makes me think that Dinamo Zagreb are in a pretty good spot, especially facing the last place team in the group, though they've given up 3 7 goals total in the Balkani matches so far, just the same amount as the 7 goals in Victoria Plzen matches. I mean, I guess that looks like a pretty good under possibility from those teams playing against each other. We'll see. Dinamo Zagreb, 12 goals scored in their matches, so they're a little bit more high scoring. So I guess it's the high scoring teams are playing the low scoring teams in this group. That does make it a little bit interesting to see what works. I think Balkani, you got to go for a win. That should help Dinamo Zagreb as a 1.25 goal favorite. They probably move on, and that's where the status quo is currently. That's probably way more than I need to talk about. And last but not least, Group D, as in dog. Club Bruges, they're on 13 points. Bodo Glimt on 10. They play each other. Lugano on 4 and Besiktas on 1. I'm amazed that Besiktas have performed this poorly and are bottom, the stone cold bottom of the group. I've conceded 14 goals in 5 matches. Just never really a believer in Turkish defenses. Is on a continental level, it's been really disappointing. And I don't know that Galatasaray in the Champions League this year has changed that, though the results have certainly been better than expected. So Bruges are a 3/4 goal favorite at home. They've, I guess, could lose to Bodo Glimt. Maybe that would throw things off potentially. Club Bruges is undefeated so far. Bodo Glimt with 1 loss. I don't know. They're going to have to win to tie them here. So Bodo Glimt are probably going for it. Can't be caught. So that's nice. And they're a 3/4 goal underdog, but they're on the road. And Club Brugge, after their great Champions League run last year, yes, they sold a lot of players, but it showed. And they actually built up a lot of their team, and I think could have been in a better competition, but fell into the Conference League. So probably partly distracted by their Champions League run last season and how that impacted their performance in Belgium. I don't know that I got much interest there. Lugano and Besiktas have nothing to play for. Besiktas have a more demanding league in the Turkish league, this in the Super League. So I don't know. They're a pretty big underdog. Lugano a 3/4 goal favorite to Besiktas. I was surprised by that, but it probably makes sense that Besiktas have nothing to play for. Over under is 2 3/4 there. It is juiced very heavily to over. It is almost 1:30 here in Dallas, so I will come up with a Champions or a Conference League best bet, and then we'll go into the I guess the little torture chamber that is my Instagram reel. Hopefully you all have been subscribed there, or on YouTube for the shorts, or just subscribed in general on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you could leave a 5-star review, that'd be huge. Anything you write on there, I will read or have one of my co-hosts read if it's relevant to the professional football podcast I put out there with Andrew Schnicker every Tuesday night. And then we're moving the Need for Seeds podcast to Fridays so we can really bask in the Saturday and Sunday glory potentially of college basketball weekends. That is with at Big East Ben on Twitter. Anything you want. He's probably more interesting, I think, Big East Ben than anybody that's on there, because he only speaks from the heart. His Marquette reactions, I think, got a lot of positive reviews. So if you haven't seen that one, check that out. The Maui episode also, we wore costumes, so check that all out. And I don't know, give us some likes, give us some 5-star reviews. It'd be huge for us in the search rankings. So it's time for the ultimate best bet. I haven't given my Conference League best bet, so I guess that's why you've stuck around, because I know everyone is just dying to bet the Conference League at this point. So let's figure out what I'm going to do for my best bet there, and then let's just really jump into it, because I mean, what's better than best bets in the wee hours of a now Thursday morning here in the United States? This is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, and on Twitter. If you're not following me on any of those platforms, make sure you do it. It's the best spot to get all my picks, plays, write-ups, and everything. This is the European soccer, but Europa League and Conference League episode. This is the ultimate best bet portion of the show. In the Europa League, I like the Rangers under 2 3/4 goals on the road at Real Betis. And in the Europa Conference League, I like Ferencvaros under 2 1/4 at home against Fiorentina. And for my best bet on this episode, the ultimate best bet, I'm going to go with that Rangers under 2 3/4 on the road at Real Betis. So Betis played a really tough match this weekend against Real Madrid in La Liga. It's one of those teams that rotates a lot for no matter what competition they're in, or for Europa League or for La Liga. So should be potentially some rotations here. Their offense has been stagnant, quiet, anemic, you could even call it, throughout the season. And there's some jeopardy on moving on to the next round of this competition. So that'll do it for this episode. I'm going to go to sleep now. Didn't even give the total to end that one on the little 1-minute video or so that I ran out of time on for my reel. So hope you all are doing great, and hope to talk to you all very, very soon. And stay tuned because we will be doing a new podcast coming out, as always, for the weekend on college basketball. Coming out Friday, new day, I guess, with Need for Seeds. NFL podcast is already out. Plus, if you want to listen to my Champions League stuff, that's been recorded, but that's gone now as we're heading into the knockout rounds. And then, of course, we'll have a weekend soccer pod as always. So stay tuned. Follow me wherever you see it, and use the promo codes in the description to get some free money at the casinos.